Essentially, we're going to recreate a game called Asteroid. And the way this game works is you have these asteroids coming into the screen, and they're just kind of randomly floating around. And notice they wrap around the screen. So when they reach the edge, they wrap to another side of the screen. And our goal is to shoot the asteroids and destroy them so they don't hit our ship. And they get progressively faster, and there are more of them that show up the longer we play the game. And essentially, if I just stop shooting asteroids, I collide with a ship, or I collide with an asteroid, and then I die. So you're probably thinking, Mr. Storm, that didn't seem too crazy. That should be pretty easy to make. We'll see. Let's get into it. Okay, first, we need to create a backdrop. And actually, there are going to be no custom sprites in this game, except for maybe the bullet. I'm just going to grab a basic stars background, just to make it easy. Now, the rocket ship that we're using actually is here in Scratch. Where are we? Rocket ship. There we go. And it has, let's shrink you down. That's good enough. And it has a bunch of costumes that allow it to rotate. And then it has this final costume, which doesn't do anything. I'm actually going to delete that costume because I just want to rotate my ship, right? So let's actually set that up first. We'll just get that going right off the bat. That's easy to do. So when the green flag is clicked, forever, I want to go to the next costume. And then I want to wait. Let's see, 1.015 seconds. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So my ship's going to constantly be rotating. Makes it look kind of nice. Okay, so that part's done. Next, we're going to need a couple variables. So I need a variable that will hold my score. All right. And I need a variable that's going to track the speed at which asteroids are flying around. So score and speed. I'm actually going to keep score on the screen. Let's go ahead and set score and speed at the beginning of the game. So when the green flag is clicked, we are going to set both of these variables. We'll set score to 0, and we'll set speed to 2. Sounds good. Then I want my ship to stay at 0, 0. It needs to stay in the direct center of the screen. So we want to go to 0, 0 at the start of the game. And I'm going to point straight up. Okay. And then I want to show my ship. Because we may want to hide the ship at some point. I'm not actually going to set it up so that it hides, but if you wanted to make like a game over screen, which I don't know, we could probably do, then you can hide your ship. Okay. So now we want to set up the rotation. So I want to be able to rotate my ship left or right. This is actually kind of easy. Let's do this in a forever loop. And we'll say if the, let's just handle right arrow first. So if the right arrow is pressed, then I want to turn by, let's say, 8 degrees. Okay. And we'll say if the left key is pressed, the left arrow, then we want to turn to the left 8 degrees. Now, because that's set up in a forever, then we can just hold it. Now, if we want it to go faster, then we can make this faster. So I can rotate much faster. 8 is a pretty good. We don't want it to spin too fast because we want it to feel a little bit like it's hard to turn in space. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. Now we need to start shooting our bullets. So we're actually going to need a bullet to shoot. So let's create a bullet. So I'm going to go into my paint bucket here. I'm going to grab a square and I'm going to make a red bullet with no outline. And I'm just going to draw like a laser. Pew! And I'll put it right in the center. And we're going to make this really tiny, like 5. Okay. 29 is the smallest it'll go. That's fine for me. That's A-okay. Now with our bullet programming, we want to first hide the bullet when the green flag is clicked. Okay. And then we're going to handle everything in the bullet as a clone. So let's first, over here in the rocket ship, let's create a clone. So let's say if, where's my if the space bar is pressed, then we're going to create a clone. Okay. Yeah, let's create a clone of the bullet whenever we press the space bar. And let's rename this to bullet so we know what it is. Bullet. And then when we want to create a clone of the bullet. Okay, so now over here in the bullet, when I start as a clone, I want to first show myself. So let's go show. Then I want to go to I want to start firing in the direction that the rocket ship is pointing. Okay. So I want to go to basically the middle of the rocket ship and then start firing in the direction that the rocket ship is pointing. So we're going to need a go-to block. So let's go to X and Y. And the X is going to be the X position of the rocket ship. So we're looking for this of operator. So right here we have backdrop number of stage. We actually don't want of stage. Let's say of rocket ship. And so it's going to be X position of rocket ship. Let's duplicate. So we have 2 of them. And the Y. So the X is going to be the X position of the rocket ship. The Y is going to be the Y position of the rocket ship. So if you're confused, I found that in the sensing section right here. It starts off as backdrop number of stage, but we're going to turn it into X position of rocket ship and Y position of rocket ship. Then we want to point in a direction. Points in a direction. And we're going to use that same block actually. We're going to use the backdrop of stage. We're going to change this to rocket ship. And we're going to say direction. Point in the direction of the rocket ship. Basically, we're going to just make it point. It's going to go to where the rocket ship is, and it's going to point in the same direction the rocket ship is pointing. All right. And then I want to, forever, I want to move, let's say 10 steps. And then if we touch the edge, we want to delete because we don't want a bunch of bullets that are just going to just shoot off forever. And it's going to cause our game to have to track a bunch of bullets that are not even on the screen anymore. So if we touch the edge, then we're going to delete the clone. Delete this clone. Okay, let's try that out. Okay, so there's a couple problems. One, the bullets are coming out of the ship at a weird angle. And if I hold down the space bar, I just get one continuously long bullet. So we need to solve both of those problems. The first problem is actually easy to solve. All we have to do is rotate it, let's say 90 degrees to the left. There we go. Now I'm also noticing another problem. Notice how it's coming in on top of the spaceship? We want it to be under the spaceship. So we want to move this back in the layer. So we want to go to back layer. Okay, so now, but we still have this problem of if I hold down the button, it's going to just keep shooting, right? So that we actually need to fix over in the rocket ship. And what we need to do is, inside this if statement, we need to create a variable. We're going to create a variable called a Boolean variable. Boolean variables will track if something is one way or another. We're basically going to set up a state. We're going to say if the state of this game is firing a bullet, then we're not going to do something until we change back to not firing a bullet, basically. So we're going to say space question mark. So are we pushing the space key? So inside this if statement, we want to say if we're not pressing the space key, then we shoot a bullet. So if not, then we are allowed to shoot a bullet. If not, space equals 1. So we'll say equals block. So if space question mark does not equal 1, then we're going to set it to 1. Set space question mark to 1. And then create a clone of the bullet. Okay. And we actually want that to be, so this whole thing right here needs to be an if else. Because if the space key is not pressed, we want to set that space question mark to 0. So let's go back to control. We'll grab our if else, drop that in there. That goes inside the if. So if space key is pressed, then we do that. Else, we're going to set space question mark to 0. Okay, so basically what we're doing is if we're not pressing the space bar, it's 0. If we do press the space bar and it's not a 1, then we're going to set it to 1 and shoot a bullet. Meaning we can only shoot 1 bullet per space bar press. Now we can shoot as many times as we want per space bar, right? But at least we can only shoot 1 bullet per space press, right? Okay, now we could actually change how quickly we set back to 1. If we did it like this, let's do it in this order. We'll create a clone first, and then we'll set then we'll have a wait, and we'll say wait 0.2 seconds. So there, I can press it a bunch of times, and I'm only shooting 1 bullet every 0.2. We can speed that up, 0.1. So now I can shoot faster. So you can do that to kind of create a slow down the amount of, or how fast you can fire off bullets. Okay. So that's there. That's done. So now we have a spaceship that's actually shooting bullets. And let's see, a time check. We're 15 minutes in. I knew this was going to be a tough project. We haven't even started on our rocks yet. Let's go ahead and do that now. Let's create a rock. Now, our asteroids. I found this rock sprite in here, which is actually pretty great. Looks like an asteroid. That's all we really need. I'm going to shrink it down to about 40. Maybe 50 actually. have it roughly the same size as the spaceship. That looks good to me. Okay. Now, the same thing here with the rock. We want the rock or the asteroids to be set up as clones. So at the beginning of the game, we want to hide our rock. And then we want it to, as a clone, so when it starts as a clone, it does some things. First, we want to go to a random position. Okay. And then we want to make sure that it doesn't spawn a rock directly on top of our spaceship. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a really nifty little algorithm that's going to create the rock, but until it is far enough away from the ship, it's not going to let it actually place the asteroid down, right? So it's going to create an asteroid, and if it's within 80 steps of the rocket, it's actually going to like find another place to put it. Okay. So what we need to do is say repeat until, and for the operator, we're going to say greater than, because we want to be greater than 80 steps away from our rocket ship. And we're going to say distance to, where's the distance to operator? Is it right there? Distance to rocket ship. Repeat until the distance to the rocket ship is greater than 80 steps. We will make it go to a random position. Okay, perfect. Now we want it to point toward our rocket ship. Oh, point toward our rocket ship. And we want it to turn in a random degrees. So we can flip it around, like make it flip randomly so it doesn't look so, I don't know. So they all don't look exactly the same. We'll say from 90 to 270. Sure. And then we're going to show, right? So we want it to actually show. And then what we want to do is basically move in our speed. So remember, we set up our speed variable. We want it to move in that many steps. So we're going to move speed steps. Okay. But actually, we want that in a forever block. So let's create a forever block. All right. We want it to move speed steps. Now, if we reach the edge of the screen, we want it to wrap back around. So we're going to set up a set of if statements here. We're going to need 4 of them. So we're going to grab 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, inside these if statements, we're going to say if, for example, if the x position is less than negative 234, then we're going to set x to positive 234. Nope, not 324, 234. If the x position is greater than 234, then we're going to set the x position. So if x position is greater than 234, then we're going to set the x position to negative 234. Basically just make it wrap around the screen. And we're going to do the same thing with the y. So if the y is, say, less than negative 174, if the y position is less than negative 174, then we will change or set the y to positive 174. And then finally, if the y position is greater than 174. Sorry, there's a train going by outside, and I have my window open. So if the y position is greater than 174, then we will set the y to positive 174. Now if we play, we should see asteroids. Oh, we haven't started making clones yet. So over here in the rocket ship, we're actually going to start making our clones here. Let's do inside the same forever block. No. Let's do it as a separate. When the green flag is clicked, let's forever create a clone of rocks, and then we'll wait 3 seconds. Okay. So there we go. The rocks are showing up. They're wrapping around the screen. They're coming in at kind of random directions. I don't know what's going on with that one over there in the corner, but it's kind of freaking out. But yeah, stuff's happening. It's happening. Now, let's talk about our spawn, our asteroid spawner over here. Let me just check my time real quick. We're almost at 25 minutes. There's a lot still to get through. All right, let's do this. I'm going to very quickly show you how to make this game progressively more difficult. We'll say for the first 10, then we spawn some rocks at 3 intervals, or at 3-second intervals. And then we want to change our speed. Nope. Actually, let's just set our speed. We'll set speed to 3. Then, after that, we can wait 2 seconds and set our speed to 4. Then, we'll wait 1 second and set our speed to 5. Okay. And then let's do a forever at the bottom here so that we don't ever stop spawning. And we'll set that to 0.5. So now we basically will have rocks spawning like crazy. So the last thing we need to do is we need to set it up so that whenever our bullet hits a rock, we actually will destroy that rock and then destroy the bullet. So let's do the bullet first. So inside this forever block, we can say, let's grab an if. Okay, so if touching rocks, let's wait 0.01 seconds. Now the reason why we're waiting here is because the bullet is going to be destroyed. The rock is also going to be destroyed. But if the rock is looking for the bullet to destroy it, and the bullet is looking for the rock to destroy it, then they're going to happen simultaneously, and one of them's not going to be destroyed. But if we tell it to wait just a little bit, then all the programming will catch, and they'll both destroy each other. Okay, so we're going to have it wait 0.1 seconds. We will change score by 1, and then we're going to delete the clone. Okay, so that'll handle the bullets hitting the rocks. Let's handle the rocks hitting the bullet. All right, so if down here at the bottom, if touching bullet, then we want to wait 0.1 seconds. 0.01 seconds. And we want to actually, okay, so we're going to replace the rocks with a different sprite. Now, there's no explosion in Scratch per se, but there is this sun that kind of looks like an explosion, right? So we're going to bring in that sun. And now we need to store the X position and the Y position of the asteroid when it collided with the bullet. So we're going to need to create two variables for that. We'll say X pos and Y pos. You don't have to call it, you can call them whatever you want. I'm going to turn those off so we don't see them. And we're going to have this be roughly the same size as one of the asteroids. Oh, never mind. Whatever. So yeah, it's about the same size. That's about fine. Okay. So then we're going to set our X position and Y position. So X pos and Y pos to our X position and Y position when we get hit. Then we are going to create a clone of the sun. And then we're going to delete this clone. Okay? So now when the sun is created, we need to do something here. Very, very quick programming. So first of all, we need to hide the sun. Then when I start as a clone, right there, boom. When I start as a clone, I want to go to the X position and Y position that we've stored. I want to show, and then I want to wait a second and then delete the clone. Okay. Now, believe it or not, I think we're actually done. Let me check my notes here, see if I missed anything. I don't think so. I think we got it all in there. Let's play our game and see if it actually works. Okay. So notice that the sun replaces the asteroid whenever it hits. Okay. And our asteroids are coming in, our score's going up. Oh, I just saw something happen there. I shot that asteroid, but it didn't actually blow up. But that's okay. So, and it looks like our asteroids are getting faster, which is good. I'm going to wait for one to hit me. And we haven't programmed that in. Okay. So, that's going to be the last thing we do. We can just do that in the rocket ship here. We can say at the bottom, if, and we'll say touching rocks, then we stop all. We could change it to a background, a new backdrop that says game over if we wanted to do that. But this video is already 30 minutes long. So I'm going to stop it here. There are plenty of things you can change. You can add some background music, make a game over screen. You can make a sound effect whenever you shoot a bullet. All of that stuff, like for example, just for example, if you went into sounds and found a, I don't know, let's say, anyway, you could, if you found a sound effect, we'll call that, we'll say it's the trumpet. And then you come over here, we can say play, or no, we just want to start the sound. We want to start sound trumpet 2. when we create a clone of the bullet. This is going to be super annoying. That's so stupid. I love it so much. All right, anyway, so you'd want to find the right sound effect because that trumpet sound is not the sound you want. But you can make a laser noise there. You can have the rocks when they hit something, when the explosion starts, you can have an exploding noise, whatever, right? Anyway, I'm going to let you guys keep working on this. Make it cool, make it fun, make it interesting, make it different. Let me know if you guys need any help, and I will see you next term.